So yesterday, after much media buildup and extraordinary hype, a small collection of LGBT Netflix employees and their supporters rallied outside of Netflix headquarters in protest of a comedy special. A few dozen people showed up with a ratio of about 3 reporters to every 1 protester. It was reminiscent of a Joe Biden rally, both in terms of crowd size and demographic. Netflix itself has over 12,000 employees. Of those 12,000, maybe 12 participated in the walkout. And those 12 had significant support from not only the media, but Hollywood. Various trans and trans-affirming celebrities released statements and videos throwing their weight behind the protesters. Elliot Page, formerly Ellen Page, the Wachowski sisters, formerly the Wachowski brothers, Wanda Sykes, formerly Wanda Sykes, all along with many other celebrities to voice their support for the Netflix employees who were offended because Dave Chappelle said that women have vaginas. There were more obscure supporters on the scene as well. The Daily Beast gives us this story. Quote, comedian 7 Graham, who is intersex, trans mask, non-binary, and uses he, they pronouns, was in attendance at the protest, telling the Daily Beast they felt the special crossed a line. Quote, I actually found myself crying watching this special because it says some very difficult, very painful, very untrue things about who trans people are, Graham said. This special will be used by people to fuel that transphobia that has a very real-world effect for trans people. As soon as I heard that trans employees were speaking out and amazing activists like Ashley Marie Preston were stepping up and organizing this demonstration, I knew that I had to go. Fellow protester Nick Bewick agreed, says, I was angry for days, and I'm a fan of Dave Chappelle. I've been a fan since 2003. I've seen every single one of his episodes. I've seen every single special. Sticks and Stones kind of touched upon a few things, but it didn't really bother me as bad. This seemed gratuitously aimed at us, and it wasn't funny. It was gratuitously mean. It was gratuitously not funny. It was just self-glorification, self-masturbation. I'm rich and famous. Let me spew out all the things that I think, as if he was some sort of messiah. I think he got it twisted. So many people worship him, and he's so out of touch. Yeah, who do you think you are, Dave Chappelle, giving your opinion like that? Who do you think you are? Some kind of messiah? You must have a messianic complex if you would dare give your opinion or tell jokes at a comedy special. See, I'm trying as hard as I can to picture a professed comedian sitting in his living room watching a Dave Chappelle stand-up special and weeping. And I'm just having trouble conjuring that image. We have to keep in mind that the people in this assembly are, shall we say, special. And so, for example, just to put an image with the whining, let me play a clip of one of the protesters explaining why he or they or whatever showed up on Wednesday. Watch this.
Yeah, my name is David Huggard. I'm a non-binary individual. I also go by the persona of Eureka O'Hara, which has been debuted on RuPaul's Drag Race, Season 9, 10, All-Star 6, and HBO's We're Here.
Okay, the first name you go, can you spell that for me?
David, D-A-V-I-D, H-U-G-G-A-R-D, and then Eureka, E-U-R-E-K-A-O-H-A-R-A.
Amazing. So, first thing, why is it so important to be out here today?
Yeah, no, it's important to be out here today because we have to stand in solidarity with each other. Obviously, Ashley Marie Preston is a great advocate and a huge sister of mine, also a trans woman. As a non-binary person, we as trans people and non-binary people aren't getting visibility or respect in the entertainment industry to begin with. And to have something like Dave Chappelle's special not be noted that it's promoting discrimination and hate conversation is very hurtful to the activism and the cause that we're trying to progress ourselves in the industry.
Well, it's good to see Brian Stelter getting involved in the community. But remember, this is someone we're supposed to listen to and take seriously. Eureka O'Hara deserves our attention and our respect. Also remember, they're not visible enough, even though 14 of them walked around carrying signs for an hour and they made it into the headlines of every major news publication. But still, not visible enough. And we need to make sure we're not having hate conversations, says Mr. Eureka. So we progressed past hate speech, and now it's hate conversation. Some conversations themselves are hateful. To simply talk about certain subjects is now an act of hate. That's what the activists are trying to tell us. And it explains why they responded violently to a quote-unquote counter-protester who showed up yesterday with a provocative and offensive sign that said, "We like Dave and jokes are funny." That may seem like the most innocuous and innocent statement ever written on a sign in the whole history of signs, but that's not how the LGBT activists viewed it. Let's see how they responded.
Why is he breaking my sign? Why is he breaking my sign? Don't have free speech rights? Don't have free speech rights?
Now again, remember the sign says, "We like jokes." They're angrily tearing it up.
He's got a weapon! He's got a weapon! Oh, do you want me to drop my weapon? Yes. Okay. And leave. There's my weapon.
We're not trying to have any discussion.
I'm not disrupting anything.
You're talking yourself. We're trying not to have any discussion.
I'm just here to say that jokes are funny, people. Dave Chappelle, funny guy. I love Dave. I don't know why all the violence. I don't know why the hate. I just love Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle.
Okay. So to recap, he stood there peacefully with a sign that said jokes are funny. They accosted him, tore his sign apart, started shouting that he had a weapon, and which is a great thing to do because there are cops all around, and they're shouting he has a weapon. I mean, as far as they're concerned, they'd be fine getting the guy killed. They don't care. And that really is true, by the way. They're shouting he's got a weapon because he's holding the stick that the sign was attached to that they just destroyed. And if a cop pulled out a gun and just shot him there on the spot, they'd be happy. They really would be. And then they got in his face and they tried to shove him, out of the protest. But don't worry, the media made sure to report this incident fairly. Here's Variety. Here's their headline. At times, the Netflix walkout situation threatened to devolve as counter-protesters pushed against trans speakers. That's the media's framing, doing everything they can, as always, to earn the enemy of the people moniker that Trump gave them. Now, let's think about the privilege on display here. The LGBT people at this protest belong to the most pampered, coddled, celebrated, elevated, and disproportionately visible demographic in America. Some of them apparently also work for Netflix, one of the richest and most powerful corporations in the world. They live in Silicon Valley, employed by a Fortune 500 company. They are applauded and worshiped just for existing. They are the very definition of privilege, and yet they pretend to be victimized over a comedy special. One guy tells one joke they don't like, and it's a national emergency. Everybody can bow before them, lay palms before their feet as they walk, follow them around cheering and fawning over them. And if one person, just one, says anything mildly critical or makes a joke at their expense, they will collapse into a puddle and demand an FBI investigation, and they'll get it. They'll get what they want, because they always do. And that's why the small size of the protest is not an embarrassment for them. I mean, we can make fun of it, we can laugh it off, but they aren't ashamed. Why should they be ashamed? The crowd size is a symbol of power. The crowd displays its power by being small. Think about it. If you could go by yourself and stand outside of a major corporation's headquarters with a sign demanding that they take some sort of action at your behest, and it worked, and you got what you wanted, would that image of you standing there alone, a crowd of one, be embarrassing? No, quite the opposite. We console ourselves with reassurances that these people are in the minority, and they are. But they run everything, and they get exactly what they want every single time. And it's not so reassuring when you look at it like that. So I hope you could see by now, and if you listen to this show, you must see it because I'm hammering on the point all the time. But I hope you can see that this stuff is not just about gender or sexuality. It's certainly not about Dave Chappelle. What we're living through is a giant social experiment. It's the biggest social experiment in world history. And what the experimenters are trying to find out is this. Can a vocal and powerful minority alter the majority's perception of reality? Not simply influence their opinions or convince them to adopt a new position, but fundamentally change their very perception of reality itself, primarily by screaming, threatening, and cajoling them. Can the human instinct for self-preservation, the natural desire to avoid confrontation, can these be exploited to such an extent that millions or billions of people can be made to not only tacitly tolerate a bizarre idea, but to actually, over time, believe it themselves? You know, if they, in the minority, act like a statement of basic truth is wildly offensive, dangerous, harmful, it's going to get people killed. If they do that, and they do it often enough, can they not only convince millions of people to keep quiet, but eventually can they convince those timid masses to really believe that the truth is offensive and that it being offensive makes it somehow not actually true? That's the experiment we're all living through right now. Those are the questions that the social engineers are trying to answer. And so far, sad to say, the answer for many people has been yes. Hey, listen, hit the subscribe button. Do it right now. I demand it. And I thank you for your compliance. It is somewhat appreciated.